Here.
Alderman Gashgarian.
Here.
Alderman Weber.
Here.
Alderman Walder.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item tonight is comments by mayor, and I'd like to start by introducing Catherine Waldeck, chairman of the Public Service Award Committee.
Mr. Mayor.
Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, especially for such a happy occasion. And I'm here tonight to present the Lawrence R. Temple Distinguished Public Service Award. This is an award that is awarded to an exceptional volunteer in our community who has served in local government and or community organizations. And these are people who are nominated by their fellow citizens. So everybody in this room, when you run across those individuals in your normal daily life, those exceptional volunteers, please keep this award in mind and consider nominating someone in your community who spends a lot of time giving back. I want to start by thanking the fellow members of my committee, Debbie Saran, who is herself a past recipient of this award, and she's here with us tonight, as well as Prue Beidler. And Michael Ademan is with us in spirit, not in person, but I know he's with us in spirit. And I would be remiss if I did not thank Biddy Boyer, who makes us all look good by doing most of the heavy lifting on this committee. This year, we had a great group of candidates. And one thing I want to note is that when somebody enters our pool of candidates, so to speak, that person remains in the pool, as it should be, right? Nobody gets kicked out of the pool. You know, you stay in because this may not be your year. And this year we had a strong group of candidates, and what was really very heartening about our candidates this year was that several of our past recipients, past honorees, themselves nominated people for this award, including this year's recipient was himself nominated by a past honoree. And I really love that. I think it says a lot about our community that these people in our community just continue to pay it forward, and they basically never stop. In my humble opinion, this is the highest honor that the city of Lake Forest can bestow. No offense to any of you. And I also really strongly feel that this award is most appropriately given when it's given to the unsung heroes in our community. When it's given to that person who just keeps quietly giving back and who does it with no personal motive, who does it with no personal agenda, but who does it out of a genuine love for the community and a deep-seated belief in public service. And those words describe this year's recipient, Tom Marks, to a T. Any of you in this room who have ever gone to Lake Forest Day, admired the flags that are planted in our community on special occasions, heard taps being played at a veteran's grave site, visited our beautiful new Veterans Park, been driven or had a family member driven by the senior center bus, or benefited from any of the many programs that Rotary has to give, all of you have been touched by Tom. And without further ado, I would like to read this award. The Lawrence R. Temple Distinguished Public Service Award, honoring a living volunteer for distinguished public service to local government or community organizations in the city of Lake Forest. Whereas, individuals selected for the Larry R. Temple Distinguished Public Service Award must demonstrate leadership, responsiveness to the public and staff, extended duration and scope of service and volunteerism, constructive participation in meetings, and the ability to represent the community's values. And whereas Thomas P. Marks was nominated for the Lawrence R. Temple Distinguished Public Service Award, and whereas the award committee was struck by the depth and breadth of his civic and community service to the city of Lake Forest, and whereas Tom is a well-respected volunteer and community leader who is truly passionate about the city of Lake Forest, a civic-minded individual whose values and commitment reflect his altruistic, honest, and heartfelt love for Lake Forest, and whereas Tom, a longtime resident of Lake Forest, has dedicated himself to many organizations, including the American Legion McKinlock Post 264, serving as its past finance officer and its past commander, a record 4 times in the Legion's 100-year history. He currently serves as the president of the McKinlock Post Foundation. As a Rotarian, he has served in many leadership roles, including his current role of community service chairman, recently becoming a member of the Paul Harris Society. His continuous contributions to Lake Forest Day are significant. He has been a guardian volunteer for Lake County Honor Flight and a UNICEF board member, to name a few. Whereas Tom's vision for Veterans Park played a crucial role in enhancing the quality of life for others, contributing to the betterment of the community, and exemplifying a selfless spirit of service in the countless hours he spent working from the design to the dedication of the city's newest park. And whereas Tom has improved character and quality of life by offering his time and talents when it comes to flags in the city, he, along with American Legion members alike, have honored military service members by planting flags at veterans' graves each Memorial Day. He, along with other members of the American Legion, continue to spend countless hours caring for American flags used for special events in the city by clearing holes, placing and removing the flags. And whereas Tom continues his service as a volunteer, devoting time and passion throughout Lake Forest as a Dickinson Hall driver, a lone bugler playing taps in the distance, and a good friend to those in need. He is someone who demonstrates an exceptional commitment to community service and civic engagement. And whereas the award committee believes that Tom Marks, like Larry Temple, has distinguished himself with civic and volunteer contributions that benefit the city of Lake Forest, now therefore, Thomas P. Marks is awarded the Lawrence R. Temple Distinguished Public Service Award on this 5th day of February, 2024. Oh, yes, I do.
Good evening. Thank you so very much. This is a high honor, and I'm very moved by your selection. Thank you to the committee. Herb Falks, a previous honoree, successfully pursued my joining the American Legion. I did so to honor my father, who was a World War II vet. Post 264 has kept me busy, and the rewards have been many. Legion and VFW posts have closed nationwide, but Post 264 is here and very active. Seeing families enjoying Lake Forest Day and helping young people in scouting and with scholarships are just 3 of the rewards. Helping at vets at Level and elsewhere are also very much something I need to do. Last year was especially rewarding as we placed the monument in Veterans Park. Rotary has been the other organization that deserves mention. It has offered me chances to be very useful. The Rotary motto, service above self, is highly motivational. It is my belief that being of service is important. Lake Forest Day is important. Rendering honors to veterans when they pass is important. Decorating graves is important. I am happy to have had the time and the energy to assist in continuing with these endeavors. And I know that the members of the Post and of Rotary, by their many hours of service, have contributed greatly to my honor tonight. And so I ask all of them here to stand and join in this moment. Thank you. Thank you very much. And again, thank you to the committee and to those who have put my name forward. So we're going to have another picture. So all the vets and all the Rotarians, I invite you to come forward and stand in front of the City Council, and we'll take one more shot. Come on up.
right, the next item on the agenda is a resolution of appreciation for retiring Director of Parks and Recreation, Sally Swarthout. I am going to read the resolution this time. Whereas Sally A. Swarthout joined the City of Lake Forest as a part-time employee for what was then called an ice rink attendant when she was 16 years old. And whereas Sally honorably retired from the city on January 26, 2024, after serving the residents of Lake Forest in various capacities within Parks and Recreation for over 30 years, as she progressed through her career, ultimately advancing to the position of the city's Director of Parks and Recreation in 2015. And whereas Sally, early in her career, opened Everett Classroom and spearheaded many early childhood education programs, including establishing the Reggio Emilia philosophy at Kinderhaven Preschool Academy, all while consistently supporting her coworkers and teams by teaching, guiding, encouraging, and challenging them. And whereas Sally has spent her career as a part of the North Suburban Special Recreation Association, NSSRA, she is the model of professionalism at the boardroom table, serving on its board of directors for almost a decade, while setting the industry standard and touching the lives of many. And whereas Sally's lifelong love for the City of Lake Forest has been memorialized and demonstrated, as she has participated in the planning, fundraising, and successes of the 100th anniversary of Lake Forest Day, with the American Legion hosting the Lake Forest Beach Ball fundraiser, the city's 150th celebration, Deer Path Golf Course renovation, numerous 4th of Julys, and many other treasured community celebrations. And whereas Sally played a vital role in the expansion and improvements to Forest Park, both the north and south beach access roads, the boat basin, sailing, beach cells, all of the city parks, as well as the city's recreational program offerings through her vast knowledge of the city's recreational needs and future, by recognizing the unique character of Lake Forest, reaching the expected high quality of service to all, while recognizing each community member's individual circumstances. And whereas Sally created and sustained decades-strong relationships and provided a positive impact on countless staff, community partners, participants, and residents alike. And whereas Sally is truly valued and respected, she has provided strong leadership, direction to staff in a kind, caring, and compassionate way, along with her willingness to problem solve collaboratively and creatively. And whereas Sally has had many accomplishments throughout her tenure with the city, and it would be impossible to capture them all. However, they can be found throughout the community, from the patio on the golf course to the newly dedicated Veterans Park, or a stroll down the new Forest Park Beach pathway. Her legacy can be found most anywhere. Whereas Sally has reached the hour in her career where it is time to play, and we wish her safe travels and many wonderful adventures as she enjoys traveling in between beautiful sunsets. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Lake Forest that the City Council, on behalf of the entire city organization and the residents of the community, hereby expresses its gratitude to Sally A. Swarthout for a public service faithfully, diligently, and honorably performed. And be it further resolved that this resolution be appropriately inscribed and conveyed to Sally, with a copy to be included in the official minutes of the February 5th, 2024 meeting of the Lake Forest City Council. May I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sally?
Turn that resolution around.
There we go.
Okay. Fred Jackson, are you here? Yes. Very good. Mr. Jackson would like to offer a few comments on Sally's behalf.
Thank you. And Tom Marks, congratulations. I'm just glad they didn't mention that you're a Green Bay Packer fan.
He doesn't like football.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, and friends. I had the privilege of serving as Director of Parks and Recreation for a number of years. During that time, I had many occasions when I stood before you, usually asking for more funding for Parks and Recreation. And I must admit, this is a lot more enjoyable standing here tonight to help honor Sally. Through the years, I've received a lot of advice from mayors, city council members, city managers, Park and Recreation Board members, staff, and of course the residents of Lake Forest. Two pieces of advice have always stood out. First was from my father. When I told him that I was changing my profession and my major in college and I was considering Parks and Recreation as a profession, he turned to me and said, "Don't do it. There's no money in it." That kind of struck me in a funny way because he never really advised me of anything other than that. Of course, he was wrong, but the comment always stuck with me. Recently, as a member of the History Center board, I was researching the minutes of the park boards back in the 1930s, and I was shocked to read that in 1930, a 19-year-old Fred Jackson was hired as a lifeguard for $1 a day, as needed. My father's advice then made a lot of sense. I began working at the Recreation Center for $1.25 an hour. Sally started her career as a skating guard at West Park, and I hope it was more than that. Second bit of advice I had that's always stuck with me was from the chairman of the Recreation Board, Bob Donnelly. During my annual evaluation, I mentioned that I had received an offer from a national park system and was considering leaving. He said to me, "Fred, not many people are able to work and live in the community they love their entire career." That stuck with me and was the best decision I ever made. It's very similar to the one Sally has made. She truly loves Lake Forest. As a child, Sally participated in park and recreation programs, and you've heard earlier that what she worked her way through the system, from skating guard to early childhood programs, to a program supervisor, to a program manager, to a superintendent of recreation, to finally Parks and Recreation director, a real lifer. Along the way, she developed a strong work ethic and learned the values of the city of Lake Forest. Her accomplishments are too many to list, and you've listed some of them. Everything from preschool teacher to lakefront designer, funding improvements for our golf course, helping design Veterans Park, turf fields at Deer Path. And she's also worked very closely with the Friends of Parks and Recreation Foundation and raised millions of dollars for improvements to our parks. Most of all, she affected the lives of thousands of our residents. In these days when mental health is on everybody's mind, I'd like to think that Sally made a difference in many of these people's lives. Recently, a year ago, I met with her uncle, former mayor Jim Swarthout. Her Uncle Jim took me aside and said, "Fred, tell me the truth. How is Sally doing?" Of course, I told him that she was doing a fabulous job, and the Swarthout family should be very proud. He smiled and said, "I knew she could do it." In closing, I want to tell you something that Sally shared with me a few months ago. After visiting her grandchildren, her oldest grandchild said, "Grandma, why do you have to leave? She, of course, told her, I have to go back to work. Well, Sally, thank you for everything you have done for Lake Forest. You have enriched the lives of many of our residents. Enjoy your retirement, and now spend as much time as you want with those grandchildren.
Sally, would you like to say a few words?
All right. My son would like to say a few words.
Okay.
Thank
Good evening, everyone. My name is Steve, Sally's second and youngest son. Thank you very much for having us here tonight. It was a pleasure to come in from Cleveland. Any grumbling or rumbling you heard was the youngest granddaughter.
Wonderful.
Any-
Yay, she's such a doll.
Probably not going to get a better applause than that. Thank you very much. We've heard a lot about how my mom helped in many ways build the actual city that we're in right now. Certainly the spaces that my brother and I and my cousins grew up in. And she was able to do so thanks in large part to the support of family, community, city, staff, and leadership all throughout. And while I can't recite for you the values of the city of Lake Forest any more than I could espouse some sort of swarth out family motto or espoused values, what I can say is that the daily values my mom presented for my brother and I to learn from are things that I'll never forget. Things like stewardship, tenacity, and inspiration. Now, we've heard a lot about her work as a steward of this community and the different spaces that we've spent our time in. I watched her do that in a very tenacious way, day in and day out, from a single mom working part-time in a kindergarten class, all the way up through Director Sally Swarthout on her retirement today. From that tenacious stewardship, I would hope, thanks to celebrations like this, we can all take inspiration to do that work ourselves in our own life, in our own small way or large way, in our grand leadership ways, or as aunts, uncles, and grandmas helping put a binky in a little kid's mouth, whatever that might be, whatever that might take. But I would also like to add on to that gratitude. Gratitude for the opportunity to work, to grow, to be here with us. Looking back on moments in my life that changed for the better thanks to the hard work of my mom, I think about days when she had conversations with Fred Jackson and her life was clearly better having had that conversation. Something that he saw in her in terms of setting expectations, allowing her to exceed those expectations, and then raising those expectations so that she could then rise up and exceed them again. Continuing that cycle of inspiration, stewardship, and tenacity for us to learn from. The last thing I do want to say is thank you to everyone in this room. We're certainly grateful for everything that my mom's done, but I am very grateful to have her back. She's ours. Thanks, Mom.
I never expected you to go shorter, Steve. Oh, thank you all so very much. It's amazing, somewhat surreal to be standing at this podium officially for the last time, but what a great ride it's been. You've heard some words from Fred Jackson and from my son that I was going to express myself. So I do want to say that working within the city family has allowed me to grow, mature, raise a wonderful family, and an opinionated granddaughter. I couldn't have picked a better place to spend my career. As Fred said, to be able to work and live and love in the community that you grew up in is truly special. It's something very few people are privileged to do. And I have to say that I wouldn't have gotten to where I'm at without extraordinary mentors such as Fred Jackson and others that have helped to raise me up through this system, who have given me direction, given me opinion, given me the ability to make my own decisions and to either succeed or to fail, learn from both, and then move forward. So to be able to do that here is an amazing thing. I have a large family presence in the audience tonight, and for that I'm truly thankful, because really, what do we do this all every day for? We do that for the betterment of our families. The love is an amazing thing to have ownership of. I can also say that there's things that just could not be done without the people who are in the back of the room, the staff that have truly supported me and helped me move forward in my career and helped me move forward in my successes and helped me learn from my failures. The one thing I knew when I left, when I decided to retire, is that this place is in exceptionally great hands. Those folks in the back of the room are going to continue on and continue to make this city the best place it is that it can be. And so with that, I have to say thank you to all of them. And I appreciate those that are here and those that could not be here. I'm a lucky woman, and I know that, and I would never, ever forget that I have been able to do this in this strong, wonderful community with people such as yourselves, volunteers, staff, residents, and my family. So thank you very much.
Okay, at this time, for those of you who want to check out to celebrate, I think this would be appropriate.
Cut that off quick.
Very good. We will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is 2024-2025 board and commission appointments and reappointments. We have one this evening. This is for Building Review Board. We will be asking approval to appoint Sarah Lamphere from Ward 1. May I have a motion to approve Sarah Lamphere as an appointment to the Building Review Board?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is comments by city manager.
Thank you, Mayor and members of City Council. Good evening. I have one item under my report tonight, and I'll just start and teeing it up by saying that I think with City Council support, it's been a real organizational priority for us to leverage technology over the last few years to rethink how we're allocating resources, carrying out our daily operational responsibilities, and it's been exciting for me to watch our staff experimenting with new tools that are providing us with credible and actionable data as we strive to, again, improve sort of the manner and efficiency in which we deliver services. And given the City Council's strong support and clear direction to pursue those endeavors, I thought tonight would be a good opportunity to highlight some of the recent successes, or one recent success. And so with that, I'm happy to introduce Cameron Burrell, the business analyst from our Department of Innovation and Technology, and Jim Lockefear, our Assistant Public Works Director.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. We really appreciate the time this evening. I know we have a lot on the docket, so we'll try to keep this update a little concise. Besides myself and Jim, we also have Matt Brugioni, our street supervisor, and Corey Weirma, our forester, who played an integral role in this as well. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We just wanted to give you a really brief update on our cartograph work order system. This is a system that was identified years ago as a big need for the city. Our Public Works Department was really in the midst of trying to turn over a way to track data, like Jason mentioned. So several years ago, we got a group together, a project group of internal staff, to kind of go through functional requirements of a system that we had in mind to fill our needs. We took those requirements, we crafted an RFP, we put out a bid, and ultimately we ended up with this cartograph system as approved by City Council. Initially, we started with a program called SeeClickFix, which was part of the cartograph system. SeeClickFix, as you may know it, present day, is the report a problem feature on the city website and in the city's LF Now mobile app. This system provides a direct link with our city residents to our staff when we have downed tree limbs or potholes or sanitation special requests for move in and move out. It's kind of a direct link that sends tasks to our city staff in order to action on those. And really, it was kind of a trial period for us. We wanted to make sure that our city staff was amenable to new technology and was willing to kind of take those next steps. Prior to that, we were really focused on phone calls and text messages and emails, and we really wanted a way to track the work that we were doing, and this system was kind of an on-ramp into that. After the success of SeeClickFix is when we really focused and shifted into Cartograph as a work order system. So Cartograph is more an asset-based system where we track our ravines, we track the health of our sidewalks, we track the health of our trees, and we then also take the cost of our labor and materials, the resources that we're using, and we kind of ball all that up into actionable data, like we mentioned. Cartograph also directly interfaces with SeeClickFix. So when a problem gets logged in SeeClickFix, that goes automatically into Cartograph. It creates a task, and we have other ways to create tasks for our individual members of Public Works through preventative maintenance schedules and annual programs that we have. Things like tree trimming is a good example.
Thanks, Cam, and a true thank you to Cam and the IT department led by Jim Shaw. Just from our standpoint, Jason, City Manager Wisha, hit the nail on the head that this was a very exciting project for us. That was a heavy lift, and having IT support to take this on was imperative. It was crucial, and we're forever grateful for their help, and it's going to continue, and again, just truly excited about it. Transitioning to Cartograph specifically, the area we focused on first and foremost was snow operations. We felt that was a good transition into those operations from the standpoint of most public works maintenance employees participate in that program. It's also a program that's already pretty heavily supported by various data points that we track in a number of Excel sheets, so it was something on our list we were very excited about to move away from that and get it into one catch-all system. So as we prepared to build the snow operations in Cartograph the way we wanted to see it and how it would best support us, we actually first collaborated with some other municipalities that were utilizing Cartograph and have for a number of years. Buffalo Grove, Glen Ellen, to name two. There were some great lessons learned. Matt and Corey, as mentioned by Cam, they're the true Snow Command supervisors, and they were with us every step of the way, which was great. They brought to the table some really great ideas and embraced the technology. And so once we built snow operations in Cartograph, the training with the maintenance level employees occurred, and this was a crucial key step to get their buy-in. And not only was it successful in that key step, but it was also a lot of fun. We met with sections individually, one-on-one, assigned test tasks that they went through more in the fall. A fake snow event, I'm plowing this route, I'm hand shoveling this area. And they went through it and filled it out, gave us some feedback, and all of it was happening right on their cell phone through the Cartograph app. And on the right-hand side of the screen there, you can actually see a screenshot from the phone with some data points, the clock in, clock out time, miles and hours, associated equipment. There's a lot of other data we're capturing, not even listed. And then the picture is actually of a mapped route that the employee can reference themselves for the area that they're actually in. And here you're actually seeing our true third snow event of this snow season, where Matt and Corey are actively using it, and this is where the tasks and everything roll up and sum up into, where right up at the top of the screen there, it's telling us the true cost of the snow event from a labor hours and material standpoint. When I say materials, salt usage, liquid usage that activates the salt, which is salt brine or beet heat. It is all rolling up into this work order, and how it's calculating that is task by task. So you're actually seeing the detailed task log, and each and every of those tasks associated with this snow event, when it's completed by an employee, it appears here. We can click on it, we can see their hours, we can see their true material usage. It's incredibly powerful, and at this point, we're still just scratching the surface. Other item I wanted to note too, there's a work order detail, winter storm detail event tab. It's kind of on the left-hand side of the screen. It's hard to see, but this is another area of the program where Matt and Corey can specifically track event by event. A lot of times these events span multiple days. They can see the true start time, end time. They make their notes with how they responded when employees were called in. Again, it's going to be incredibly useful to build this data in going forward. And so with that, seen some great success with snow operations. We're very excited to push this out to the other operating sections. A lot of these operating sections, whether it's streets, forestry, or a number of others, we really want them living in Cartograph. We want their daily schedules, those tasks, annual programs, PMs, all to be in Cartograph, so that way we can collect data. And then really the importance behind it is once we have that good data, that's where data decision making, we can start doing that. That's something I'm truly excited about. A number of us are, where we can start comparing. We know in a lot of areas, for example, contractual services, we're far more competitive than if we were to contract it out. But in some areas, we know we're probably better than in others. And that's where, again, we can use this data to maybe redistribute some of our budgeting for contractual services. And there's countless examples that I can continue to share, but for the sake of time, I'll stop there and just end with, again, just a thanks to Cam and the rest of IT, Matt and Corey, the rest of the supervisor group, and the maintenance employees for embracing it, and then City Council. Jason, again, I think you did a great job referencing the fact that these are exciting projects for us to do. It does take funding to take these on, and for City Council being willing to allocate funds for a project like this, we feel very fortunate and we're excited about that. So with that, Cam and I are happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
Maybe a question. I'm almost turning off, so I got maybe drill down a little bit. Elizabeth, is this connected to BSA and our general ledger and our accounting system? I'm just kind of curious because it's powerful, right? If you turn on these different workflows, and I just wonder how integrated it is to our budgeting and our actuals And then the next question is like, what's the plan to roll it out to other workflows? And you know, are there business cases for these things? Like for the snow command, it's obvious that there's probably some cost efficiency and productivity and maybe even better, you know, staff, you know, kind of utilization. So I'm just kind of curious how it's all going to roll out. And
Certainly. So we're not currently linked to BSNA, but I would make 2 points that I think are important from a budget perspective. But the first thing is that on a previous slide, you might have noted that it referenced OpenGov. So Cartograph has been purchased by OpenGov, which is also the application that we're using for our popular annual financial report, our budget and brief, our monthly flash reports. And so Cam and I have already had discussions with OpenGov about the possibility of linking data from Cartograph and presenting that in a visually appealing format. So I think that's one exciting opportunity. The other is an analysis that we're going to do. Once we have more information in Cartograph, we want to sit down and look at how we allocate personnel from a budget perspective and see if it lines up with the data in Cartograph. So next fall, we'll be doing a project, Finance and Public Works, to review that and then potentially present some changes in how we budget personnel because of the data that we have in Cartograph now available to us.
okay. Yeah, and the last comment I would say is as we start thinking about the strategic plan and the workshops, that it'd really be cool to have an IT component to the enablement of some of this. And I'm sure George and Jim are already thinking about all that. And but it looks amazing, so thank you. Yeah, appreciate the presentation.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Okay. The next item is a presentation of the Finance Committee. This will be consideration of an ordinance approving a fee schedule adjusting water rates for fiscal year 2025. First reading, Elizabeth Holland.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. You received a detailed presentation on this at your January 16th Finance Committee meeting, so I'm just going to provide a brief summary and then answer any questions that you have. But as noted, we are seeking the City Council granting first reading of the ordinance that would approve a fee schedule adjusting water rates beginning May 1st, 2024 for fiscal year 25. Just at a very high level, as you know, the water and sanitary sewer utility of the city is an enterprise fund, which means it's completely self-supporting. The fees that we charge for water and sanitary are sufficient to cover operating, debt, and capital costs related to the water and sanitary sewer functions. We use a 5-year rolling average of consumption. We know consumption is going to fluctuate a lot from year to year. So we use a 5-year rolling average in our rate methodology in order to generate rate adjustments each year to generate a 2.5% increase in revenue so that we can stay current on increased operating costs of the utility. So I would just note the bottom left chart there that shows the rolling 5-year over the last several years. As you can see, for years we were looking at a declining 5-year rolling average of consumption. In the last few years, we've started to tick back up. What's important from a rate standpoint is that when we're looking at a declining consumption, it drives the rates up by more than 2.5% to generate 2.5% in revenue. So as we see consumption trending upwards, we can do more modest rate adjustments and still generate that 2.5% projected revenue increase. The chart here just shows the rates. We have both fixed and variable charges in our water and sanitary sewer utility. The red numbers indicate rate changes from year to year, and you have several years of data. What you can see is that for fiscal year 25, we're proposing only a small increase to the fixed quarterly rates based on meter size, moving a small meter from $55 to $57 per quarter, medium meters $210 to $215, and large meters $925 to $945. And it's important to note that about 95% of our accounts are in the small meter category. So what that means on an annual basis is that most residents will only see an increase of about $8.40, which is the $2 per quarter plus the 5% utility tax for a very small, modest adjustment. Again, that increased projection on consumption allows us to do a very modest rate adjustment for fiscal year 25. The biggest increase is with the high usage residential and commercial that have larger meters would see an increase of $21 over the entire year. These graphs just show a couple comparisons of the city's rates to other communities. Lake Forest is found in the middle there in green. What we've done here is to use these on an apples-to-apples comparison. We've looked at the rate methodology in each community, and based on the same consumption in those communities, we've shown the annual costs of water and sanitary sewer service in those communities. So you can see here that for a medium usage residential customer, we have the third lowest rate of the communities shown. To give you an idea of the color and the hash marks, just to give you more data points, solid columns are those who charge only a variable rate. They just charge variable rate, no fixed rate in their rate methodology. Those with the hash mark, similar to Lake Forest, have both a fixed and variable component. Those in yellow, so Highland Park, Kenilworth, Northbrook, and Wilmette, all sell water outside their community, so they can spread fixed costs of their utility over a larger customer base. So they have a little bit of an advantage in their rate methodology from that standpoint. This is non-residential, the same information. Again, you see Lake Forest falling third of the comparable communities, but for non-residential, who pay the same variable rate for all water consumption used, you see us much closer to Northbrook and very close to the second lowest rate of the communities shown. So with that, we do again have a recommendation that you grant first reading of an ordinance approving the fee schedule, setting forth these rate adjustments effective May 1st, 2024. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Are there questions? Okay. Hearing none, I would like to ask for a motion to approve first reading of the agenda item.
So moved. Seconded.
Did we have a second?
Seconded.
Okay. This is a roll call vote.
Alderman Preschlack.
Aye.
Alderman Gashgarian.
Aye.
Alderman Weber.
Aye.
Alderman Walder.
Aye.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck.
Aye.
Alderman Notes.
Aye.
Alderman Powers.
Aye.
8 yeas, 0 nay, motion carries.
Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can we go back to opportunity for public comment?
We may.
Thank you.
We'll have an opportunity for public comment. Is there any? Hearing none.
We have one.
We do? Sorry.
Good evening, Mayor and distinguished members of City Council. Ishwar Lakshminarayan from 360 East Deer Path from the library. Just wanted to give you a quick update that the work to begin the restoration of the murals in the library has started today. So I'm inviting all of you, every resident in town, all of you to come and watch the work in progress. It's fascinating. And if you have groups of children or other groups that you belong to that you would like to bring, the conservators are very happy to actually walk you through what they're doing and to educate you. And so we look forward to seeing you. And again, this is a project that's been entirely funded by the Friends of the Lake Forest Library. So the murals are almost as old as the library itself. So it's very exciting. You can actually see, just a few brush strokes, those murals are coming back to life. So I invite you to come by. And the only other thing I had to say was to wish Jason on his 5th anniversary with the city. I'm wishing you many, many years ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else I've missed? No? Okay. The next item on the agenda is items for omnibus vote consideration. I'm going to read all of the items at the end. If there is any item that you would like removed or taken separately, please let me know. There are 11 items tonight. First item, approval of the January 16th, 2024 City Council meeting minutes. Second item, approval of the check register for the period of January 1st through 26th, 2024. Third item, approval of an audit committee recommendation to award a 2-year extension of the city's contract with Baker Tilly Virchow Kraus LLP to provide audit services for fiscal years 24 and 25. Item 4, approval to renew an agreement for enterprise resource management system software maintenance. Item 5, approval of the purchase of replacement computers for all city departments not to exceed the amount of $64,125. Item 6, approval for Adobe Acrobat licensing with SHI International in the amount of $29,652. Item 7, approval of a 4-year maintenance agreement for the body-worn cameras squad car mobile video system, Taser 7 tasers, and a cloud-based digital evidence management software. Item 8, approval of an Illinois Department of Transportation resolution appropriating $1 million in motor fuel tax funds to be used for the 2024 annual pavement resurfacing program. Item 9, approval to purchase and install the wood decking for the Forest Park Boardwalk project and authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with FH Passion in an amount of $263,580. Item 10, approval to waive the bid process and approve professional engineering services for the 2024 dye testing to RJN Group and authorize the city manager to execute an agreement in the amount of $131,800 to include a contingency in the amount of $8,200 for a total cost of $140,000. And the final item, consideration of an ordinance approving a recommendation from the Zoning Board of Appeals in support of a zoning variance for Eloa Farm, 1401 Middle Fork Drive, first reading, and if desired by the City Council, final approval. Is there any item that you would like removed or taken separately? Okay. Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the 11 omnibus items as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Kashkarian.
Aye.
Alderman Weber.
Aye.
Alderman Walder.
Aye.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck.
Aye.
Alderman Notes.
Aye.
Alderman Powers.
Aye.
Alderman Preschlack.
Aye.
8 yea, 0 nay, motion carries.
Very good. The next item on the agenda is old business, and we will begin with approval, request for approval of a change order for additional Phase 2 design engineering services to Thomas Engineering Group for the Deer Path Streetscape project in the amount of $75,000. This will be presented by Jim Lockefier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. Before we get to the specific requested action tonight, in talking with City Manager Wisha, we thought this would be a good opportunity to revisit the project, highlight it a little bit, where it's been, where it's going. And so with that, I'll do my best to move quickly through some slides here. And just starting with the actual location of the work. So our current project scope, the original project scope, is from Oakwood Avenue on the west and to the east, Western Avenue, just before the train tracks. Project background, the project background itself, there's a rich project history that stems back to 2016. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go through all those various approvals and how we got there, but it was a project filled with some significant community engagement, including guiding the first phase of design, what I refer to more of the conceptual, feasible, community engagement aspect of design. That phase 1 process was a city manager Deer Path Streetscape Advisory Group, very similar to the Deer Path Park Advisory Group, where that was a year-long process. Alderman Walther, you'll know that one well, having served on that group while you were a member of the Building Review Board. That process culminated after a year-long effort in a final recommendation report from that group that really solidified a number of recommendations, as well as some conceptual plans were actually developed. And that's a report that's available on the city's website, cityoflakeforest.com/Deer Path Streetscape. The link itself is in the write-up. I would truly encourage anyone that's looking for more information on the project to check out that report. There's a great deal of information. One other item, too, that I wanted to highlight on this chart was the grant itself. In April of 2023, we received a $2 million grant award from the Illinois Department of Transportation, IDOT, to support construction. And why I wanted to highlight this specifically is, Alderman Preschlack, you made a note at the mid-January Finance Committee meeting when I believe Assistant Director of Finance Diane Hall was presenting on grants in regards to our recent success having shovel-ready projects. And in this case, if you look at the chart, if you explored the project background, our first go-around in attempting to get the grant was unsuccessful. We debriefed with the grant program manager, though, and it was through that debrief back in 2021, we had learned we were very close to receiving the project funding, but we actually left points on the table in the project readiness category, an area that if we had been further along in the engineering design process, we would have gained those points. So we entered the next capital planning budget cycle with that information, shared it with the Finance Committee, and at that point, we received funding and ultimately moved forward with approving Phase 2 design in January of 2022, which again, I think was an absolute crucial step in obtaining this grant. Project scope itself, the original project scope, it included, again, from Oakwood to Western, resurfacing the roadway, new sidewalks, new water main, new granite curbs. This was something that the Deer Path Streetscape Advisory Group identified as a recommendation, not only from the group themselves, but through that public engagement process as an important tie to Market Square. New landscape bump outs, new paver crosswalks, both of those items are directly tied to safety in the area, both vehicle and pedestrian safety, where through both these items, the crosswalks serving almost as a traffic calming measure, and then the landscape bump outs, opening up the intersections adjacent essentially to the crosswalks will greatly improve those sight lines, again, for people who need to, the pedestrians who need to cut across the street or the vehicles quickly approaching those intersections. Improved street lighting, still maintaining the historic lighting in the district, but maybe relocating it in an area where it's more focused for pedestrian and those vehicles. And then additional scope. The true item that's before you this evening is a change order for design so that we can incorporate these items into the design process here and out and going forward to include in the ultimate construction. New water main and resurfacing from Green Bay to Oakwood. This was something that when we entered this capital planning cycle with discussions around the central business district, just in general, ensuring that we are thinking about things holistically, these were two items that were important to us to say, yeah, we should look at incorporating these from the standpoint, while they might not be needed now or in the next year, they are something that were on the list within the 5 years, and in coordinating this project, limiting construction impacts to residents in this very busy area, made all the sense in the world to incorporate them with this project. And then lastly, an irrigation system that was truly more associated with the base project, going back to those landscape bump outs. There's going to be significant investment in there. We want to make sure the plant material in those landscape bump outs have the system there to support it, and it doesn't become a maintenance item burden for the park section staff. The project schedule, as we move forward, the current Phase 2 design consultant team, Thomas Engineering, is working towards submitting final IDOT plans in September of 2024. Along the way here, there's plenty more coordination happening but behind the scenes and with IDOT directly. We anticipate, since there is that effort, that's constant communication with IDOT, typically, sometimes reviews can take anywhere from 6 months to a year. In this case, we should be situated pretty well to get that final design approval in November of 2024. And then IDOT construction bid, where IDOT is truly bidding out the project as their project in January 2025. I'm going to circle back to that comment shortly. We'd start construction in April of 2025 and substantially complete in November of 2025. And that IDOT construction bid point where it's their project, I can see him smiling a little bit already. This is something that I know Director Thomas, when you talk about things that might keep him up at night, with obtaining this $2 million grant, IDOT, this is an IDOT project now where we're following their policies and procedures. When we go out to bid for construction. They're taking it out to bid to construction. And then when construction's happening, we're abiding by their construction policy and rules. So we're losing control. We're playing by IDOT's rules. We'll be incredibly strong stakeholders, much like we were for the Deer Path and 41 project. We are definitely going to impress upon them everything we want to see. But in our world, in working with contractors, especially in these busy areas, we're all about keep going, work Saturdays, and unfortunately, that's where we might lose a little bit of that control, but it's something we know going into, and we're going to do our best to, like I said, be strong stakeholders and make that happen. Current budget, wasn't intending going into this in any great detail, just wanted to have it up in case anybody had any questions. Fiscal year 2025, currently in the city's capital planning program software, we did show the $75,000 funding, but as outlined in the write-up, we're truly wanting to move forward with this now, and so it would be an FY24 unbudgeted expense, and then we would make the changes and plan it accordingly, and then fiscal year 2026, that's where you're seeing all the construction costs. In total, we're talking about a $4.75 million project supported by that $2 million grant for a city net expense around $2.75 million. And so with that, again, to kind of bring it back more to the requested action tonight, it is much more focused on those additional design scope items I referenced for the water main and resurfacing design work associated from Green Bay to Oakwood, as well as getting that irrigation system designed as well. But happy to answer any questions specific to that or the project in general.
Other questions for Jim? Alderman Presley.
I have a question. I'm on a roll. Kathy and or Jim, is there a process through the HPC or the BRB that's going to look at the final design before it's submitted, and can you highlight that a little bit? Or I know
I take it, and then you back me up,
Yeah.
Kathy, if I misspeak. So,
I guess I bring it up because, you know, sometimes with these grant dollars comes certain ways of doing things, and we've run into bridge work with that issue because there's people that like aesthetics, and then there's the grant money and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just kind of curious how that will play out and just what your thoughts are.
So as part of the phase one, that conceptual process, the essential plan that we're designing to right now, that did go before HBC, and we did receive a certificate of appropriateness. Now, as we're entering that detailed design, one thing that Kathy and I discussed back up here in a staff meeting when we were looking at materials and things of that nature was how it would be a good step to return for items like that to have their sign off when we get material specific. But I'll go ahead and let you step in.
Alderman Preschlack, as you know, when the Historic Preservation Commission issues a certificate of appropriateness, there's often conditions, and some of that review is delegated to staff. In this case, we had the advisory group who made a recommendation, which was then taken to the Historic Preservation Commission. So we have a pretty good framework. No further HPC approvals are required, but we certainly can do an informational session if appropriate, but we're on a good path, and there's been significant community engagement and review at this point.
Great, thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, is there anybody in the public that would like to comment? Okay, hearing none, then I would like to ask for a motion for approval of a change order for additional Phase 2 design engineering services to Thomas Engineering Group for the Deer Path Streetscape project in the amount of $75,000.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Weber.
Aye.
Alderman Walder.
Aye.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck.
Aye.
Alderman Oates.
Aye.
Alderman Powers.
Aye.
Alderman Preschlack.
Aye.
Alderman Gashagarian. 8 yea, 0 nay, motion carries.
Very good. The next item under new business is authorization to issue grant awarded funds to Lake Forest Open Lands Association in an amount not to exceed $50,000. This will again be presented by Jim Locke.
And joining me on this one is Ryan London. I don't think he needs any introduction, but President and CEO of Open Lands. And Again, just a few short slides on this grant partnership, and we'll, again, at the end, talk about the specific requested action this evening, but really wanted to highlight the partnership because we were successful in an area that we'll talk about that we were the actual first in Illinois. But again, the partnership, working with other agencies, especially open lands, whenever we have a ravine projects, it's always great knowing that we have open lands as a resource where we can bounce things off them, and we're just thrilled that we were able to connect with them on this one and be successful. So this one in particular was a Great Lakes Commission sediment and nutrient reduction program, for which the opportunity opened actually in April of 2022. We were successful in receiving grant award notification in September of 2022, a few months later. I pulled the quote that you see on the screen there directly from their website and the program classification, because this one was, as all grants are, but this one in particular was extremely competitive, not a lot of funding available, and as they say, a rigorous review process, and they were looking for projects that truly impact the Great Lakes region most. So with that, connected with open lands, we decided to submit a joint application for the max award amount, $200,000, $150,000 of that going to the Rockefeller-McCormick Lock Ravine project that occurred this past summer, and then $50,000 for the Open Lands McCormick Ravine project. And Ryan, I don't know if you wanted to say anything about the chart or.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council. Jason, thank you for inviting me to witness such an inspiring evening. We celebrate our leaders, especially those that give back in this community really well, and I'm proud to be a part of it. I'd like to recognize Jim for bringing this opportunity to us. It's not very often that we get to bring in a new funding source to Lake Forest, but to the entire state. If you read the small, tiny fine print there, this project takes the entire allotment for Illinois. So it's a great example of continuing to build those partnerships, bring innovative funding sources that are, solve problems that are identified in our strategic assessments. You get the next slide, right?
To your project. Ryan and I just wanted to highlight the project specifically very briefly. And so for the city's Rockefeller-McCormick Lock Ravine project, you can see on the screen areas, the three areas in the VT sub for which this work occurred, all very upstream fingers of the ultimate McCormick Ravine system. And here you can see up at the top is the before pictures, down below or after. Now it's a little tough with the size of the pictures, but truly in each and every of the three areas, we had storm sewer infrastructure there that was stemming from the roadway that was failed or actively failing. It was incredibly rough. And then the three images down below are the after pictures, for which you can see some stone stabilization, corrected storm sewer infrastructure, as well as in the bed, that stone in the bed was installed for slowing down the stormwater as it moves through. It was all energy dissipation.
So all of these project areas were identified originally in the strategic sub-watershed implementation plan that goes back to 2008 and then was continued to be stewarded by Lake County, and then I think Lake Forest still monitors all the ravines. So these are strategic priorities that have been previously identified. McCormick has been the beneficiary of funding from GLRI, from IEPA, from United States EPA, from the Army Corps of Engineers, Illinois Department of Natural Resources, Illinois Clean Energy, Lake Forest Garden Club. We did a grant with NOAA last year, and this is our first project with the USDA and our NRCS, which has been a tough barrier to break into because they're traditionally a little bit more agriculturally focused, but Jim figured it out. And so these are areas in McCormick that we've done work previously, all these red lines, and then the circled areas are where we're going to be implementing our phase of this project, doing some stabilization using our timber slope revetments that you can see on the right picture, and then revegetating previously stabilized areas right near Daramidi Ravine. That's your center picture. And then phase one is complete. That was really, in order for us to be successful and to make these projects where we develop and deploy nature-based solutions truly resilient within our community and influence better projects throughout the region, we have to tell that story. And so for the first time, we did interpretive signage. We worked with a designer. These are all sustainably sourced timber frame structures similar to all of our benches and other amenities out there. And those tell the story of the issues that these ravines are challenged with, and what we're doing to better them, and what people can do in their own yards as well. So that phase is complete. We'll be doing construction on the ravine and the tow zone this summer, and completing by November 1st. And we already had a visitor for the signs. So any questions?
Yeah, and just real quick with that, so the specific action before you tonight, we, the city, were the lead applicant. There could only be one. Open Lands was the partner. In order to pass on that funding to Open Lands, we need city council authorization. So that's why that's before you this evening.
Okay. Questions or comments? Anyone from the public? No. Okay. Hearing none, then, I would like to ask for a motion to authorize issuance of grant-awarded funds to Lake Forest Open Lands Association in an amount not to exceed $50,000.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Walther.
Aye.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck. Alderman Notes.
Aye.
Alderman Powers.
Aye.
Alderman Preschlack.
Aye.
Alderman Gashgarian.
Aye.
Alderman Weber.
Aye.
8 yeas, 0 nay, motion carries.
Very good. At this time, I'd like to ask members of the City Council if they have any other items that they would like to discuss. Hearing none, there will be no, I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2.
So moved.
Not finished. Pending litigation and purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body, and disposition of property and the consideration for the sale or lease of property owned by the public body. May I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck. Alderman Notes.
Aye.
Alderman Powers.
Aye.
Alderman Preschlack.
Aye.
Alderman Gashgarian.
Aye.
Alderman Weber.
Aye.
Alderman Walther.
Aye.
8 yeas, 0 nay, motion carries.
Okay, and I will note that there will be no further business following the executive session.